This could take a while. Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Today, as you'll have seen from the thumbnail and the title of this video, I have got a massive unhaul. I have got nearly 100 books to show you that are leaving my collection. So once we get into it, I will be going quite quickly, obviously, because we could be here for a very long time otherwise. But the usual disclaimers that I give at the start of an unhaul. So I have loved loads of these books. Some of these books, a lot of these books I've given 4 or 5 stars and really enjoyed. I just don't have the capacity to keep every single book that I've loved on my shelf. I'm also a big believer of sending books out into the world to be enjoyed by other people. And I also I personally, if I'm not going to reread it, I personally can't see the point of keeping hold of it unless it's got some sort of like sentimental attachment to it. So you'll see lots of books here that I've really loved. There were a few I didn't really enjoy, but most of these I've really loved, but I'm just ready to let them go, basically. Also, if you gifted me any of these books, thank you so much for your kindness. I really do appreciate it, and it's not any reflection on you. This book is now going back out into the world, and hopefully you will approve of the fact that it's going to be passed on so that somebody else can enjoy it. So that's the usual disclaimers. I also sometimes get questions about where my books go when I unhaul them, so I will give them to kind of give first refusal to a few of my friends, a couple of colleagues at work, and some family members, and then anything after that I would just donate to my local charity shop. So yeah, also any middle grade or YA goes into my school library as well, so that the kids can enjoy it. Okay, like I said, we've got like 100 books here nearly. So let's get into this. Okay, we're going to start with what I would call my teaching books. So when I first became a teacher 4 years ago, I bought all of the books that could possibly be on the curriculum. The university gave us a list of like texts that are taught in schools, in secondary schools. I read them, and then they literally haven't moved since. We're getting ready to move at the moment, and so I was looking at all of my books, went into the office, which is where my teaching books are, and I was like, those books literally haven't moved from the shelf in 4 years. So I've cleared them all out. So I'm going to go through this section particularly quickly, because a lot of it is pedagogical books, so books about teaching. Some of them are, and then they're just texts that I don't need anymore because either I don't teach them or I do teach them, but I have copies at school. So the first one of these, which has actually got dust on the top, which is terrible, is my complete works of William Shakespeare. As you can see, I've tabbed some of this. I would take the tabs out before I donate the book. I just don't need this. It's a beautiful book. Look at the end pages, and it's like gilded on the edges. It's a beautiful copy, but I am never going to use this, and it takes up so much space. It's so heavy. So that one is going out. I'm going to try and make reasonably tidy stacks on this side. Then these are all just texts that I might have taught, but I haven't. So The History Boys by Alan Bennett. This is one I do teach. Of Mice and Men by John Steinbeck. Tricky one to teach. I do love the story. The Sign of the Four by Arthur Conan Doyle. Holes by Lewis Sasha, not sure. This is another one I teach. Sir Gawain and the Green Knight by Michael Morpurgo. This is such a lovely copy. This will obviously go into the school library. On Poetry by Glyn Maxwell. Love the sprayed edges of this edition. Really beautiful ones in here, but yeah, I'm just not going to reread. The Curious Instant of the Dog in the Nighttime. This is the stage play, which I have actually taught in drama a couple of times. A Raisin in the Sun by Lorraine Hansberry. We do teach this to Year 9, but we use a different edition, so this one isn't actually that much use to me. Highly recommend this. Really love this play. But yeah, I'm not going to use this copy again. We've also got George Orwell, Animal Farm. We've got Macbeth by William Shakespeare. I do teach this, but again, we use a different edition. And to be honest, I've taught it so many times now, I could probably do it without the text. We've then also got Our Day Out by Willie Russell, which I don't teach anymore, but I did teach a couple of years ago. A Taste of Honey by Sheila Delaney. And Blood Brothers by Willie Russell, which I did teach in drama last year, but I'm not doing drama this year. And hopefully I won't be teaching it again. It's not my forte. I think drama teachers are amazing. I'm just not one of them. Okay, then we've got some more teacher books. So we've got An Inspector Calls by J.B. Priestley. I really enjoy teaching this to Year 10 and 11 as part of their GCSE. But again, we use a different edition at school. I've got this really weird copy of Pride and Prejudice. I'm not quite sure why I bought this because I've got copies of Pride and Prejudice. But yeah, it's this weird like tall version. Anyway, so that one's going out. This is one of my pedagogical books, which again I've tabbed, so I will remove those tabs before I highlighted it as well. Whoops. I will find somewhere useful for this to go. This is Meeting the Mental Health Needs of Children 4 to 11 Years by Jonathan Glazard even, and Carol Bly. I used that for some research whilst I was doing my degree. Got Noughts and Crosses by Mallory Blackman. This will go straight into the library at school. And this beautiful edition of Jane Eyre, which will also go straight into the school library. I really love this edition, but I already have copies of it, and this is a particularly like beefy one. Plus, I feel like that edition might encourage some of the kids to pick it up. And then the last stack of school books, Tom's Midnight Garden, which I taught to Year 7 last year by Philippa Pierce. Yep. The Graveyard Book by Neil Gaiman. Don't teach that anymore. Great Expectations by Charles Dickens. Book stack's fallen over. I feel like that will happen several times in this process. I am teaching this, but again we're using an abridged version, and I've also got a hardback copy which I'm reading, so I don't need this one. I do love this cover. I'm not a Dickens fan though, I'll be honest, which may well get me thrown out of teaching, but there we go. The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde by Robert Louis Stevenson. DNA by Dennis Kelly, which is a play. This is Inside the Black Box, Raising Standards Through Classroom Assessment by Paul Black and Dylan William. Again, another pedagogical text. Another one is Tom Sherrington's Roshine's Principles in Action, which is one I really like. I just don't need to reread it, and hopefully somebody else will find it useful. We've also got Attention Grabbing Starters and Plenaries for Teachers by Robin Plevlin. I found this really useful as well, but again, I feel like I've kind of come to the end of my use for it, so hopefully somebody else will use it. And a random copy of A Midsummer Night's Dream by William Shakespeare, and I do love that copy, that cover, Titania and bottom, but I am not going to use this again. So those are the kind of the teaching books. Then we're going to do, I've got everything stacked into rough genres, so let's do non-fiction next. Some of these I really loved. I'm just going to fix the fallen over stack because I need to try and keep it in some sort of order. Professional booktuber. I'm not though, so it's okay. Right, let's start at the bottom of this stack where the books are bigger. So the first one is a book I love, but I'm going to donate it to the school library because I know they struggle to keep this in stock because the kids enjoy it so much. And that book is Goddesses and Heroines, which is written by Jean Menzies, our very own Jean, illustrated by Katie Ponder. And this is part of the DK non-fiction books, and it is stunning. I would really recommend it. Look at these end pages. I pre-ordered this obviously to support Jean and really enjoyed reading and flicking through and learning all this stuff. But I mean, look at this spread. Like, look, it's so beautiful. But the kids love these books in the school library. I will give it a bit of a clink because you see my fingerprints on it. So that will go into the school library, and I know it will get a lot of use. Excuse me. Next up, we've got National Dish by, I really don't like this font. My dyslexia doesn't like the font. The author's name is in the same font on the inside of the book as well, which is not very helpful. It's this one here, Anya something, I think. I read this earlier this year and it was okay. It was interesting. It says around the world in search of food, history and the meaning of home. And I did like her exploration of that, but it's not one I'm going to reread. So that one is going out. A book that I got a lot out of and I'm passing out into the world, and I hope that other people will as well, is It's Not About the Burqa, edited by Miriam Khan. I read this a few years ago. It's a collection of women, of Muslim women, and as it says on the back, on faith, feminism, sexuality and race. I thought it was really fascinating. I also love this edition. This was a gift from a old booktuber, previous booktuber. I mean, look at that. But I think this can do a lot more good out in the world rather than sitting on my bookshelf. And another one that I absolutely loved and would definitely recommend, but check content warnings, is Know My Name by Chanel Miller. This was a really impactful book. Chanel Miller was sexually assaulted and she waived her right to anonymity, words today, and stepped forward and decided to write her story. and it's a very powerful book. I would definitely recommend it. Like I said, check content warnings. You need to be in a good headspace for this one, but it's just one that I won't reread, and I think if I do reread it, I'll go for the audiobook because Chanel Miller narrates it herself. So if it can go out into the world and somebody else can hear her story as a result, then that is a good thing, obviously. One that I actually haven't read and was sent to me by the publishers is How to Winter by Carrie Leibowitz, PhD. It says, harnessing your mindset to thrive in cold, dark or difficult times. This was sent unsolicited by the publishers and it comes out in October. So I started having a look at it last month and at the start of November, but I just started reading it and I just wasn't clicking with the writing style. So again, I'm going to pass that out into the world. Obviously I won't sell that because that's an ARC. Another book that I found really impactful is Don't Touch My Hair by Emma Dabiri. I read this, I want to say like 2021. Found it really fascinating, really interesting, learnt a lot from it. Again, I'm not going to reread it, so that's going into the world. And then just a funny little book that I'm pretty sure Charlotte probably gave me is 100 Secret Thoughts Cats Have About Humans by Celia Haddon. This is just a fun little book to flick through. I've read it, so I'm going to pass it into the world. Right, then let's do literary fiction next because that's the biggest of the stacks. I'm just going to make some space over here. Okay, let's start again from the bottom of the stack because then hopefully we will have less falling over. So, Fair Rosalind by Natasha Solomon. I'm just going to kind of whip through these. I'm not going to pause on every single one because we're already 11 minutes in and we've barely started. So, Fair Rosalind by Natasha Solomon, retelling of Romeo and Juliet. Still Life by Sarah Winman. I really loved this historical fiction book set in World War II and the found family and the food and all of that stuff. Amelia Barlow from Amelia Barlow Books recommended this to me and she was absolutely right to recommend it to me, but I'm not going to read it again. I also really enjoyed The Language of Food by Annabelle Abbs. Again, historical fiction based around food. I've kind of put these books into literary fiction as a rough sub-genre. One that disappointed me a bit was The Things We Do to Our Friends by Heather Darwin. Meant to be dark academia. I didn't quite catch the point of it. So yeah, again, that one is going out. One I loved, the writing is gorgeous, is Sorryland by River Solomon. Highly recommend this. Again, check content warnings because there's lots of bits of this that are quite dark. One that was weird, and I love a weird book, and this again is an ARC, so I won't be selling ARCs, obviously. I'll just donate them or give them to friends that want to read them, is The Centre by Aisha Manzia Siddiqui. Really weird. If you're intrigued by the cover, I would suggest you look into it. Again, content warnings. One that I didn't finish, I did DNF this just because the writing style wasn't for me. This is Where There Was Fire by John Manuel Arias. Again, as you can see, that's another ARC that I was sent. One that I thought was a lot of fun and I thought I was going to go back to, but then had another think about it and decided that I'm not going to, is American Housewife by Helen Ellis. This is short story collections. Really fun, weird, interesting look at kind of middle America, I guess. And then two books that I was also sent as part of the Your Paper Quest video that I did is California Hustle by Jeffrey Messinino and The Teddy and Barra Show by William Tinkin. So those two are also both going into the world. Okay, second stack of literary fiction. Ooh, great. Okay, we're going to split this into 3 stacks, clearly. That was too many books. So, I just found... Hang on. I just found a random... Oh, whoops, that was supposed to go to my in-laws. Okay. So, right, next one is Land by Heart by Emma Donoghue. I can't lie, it does hurt me a little bit to unhaul this because this is a signed first edition. And look at the edges. I had really high hopes for this book, but it just didn't hit for me. So it needs to leave my collection and it needs to go quickly because, like I said, this one does sting a little bit. So that's going out. We've also got Idol by Louise O'Neill. Really liked it, didn't love it, but it's an interesting look at social media culture and influencers and also consent. One that I really enjoyed and that Charlotte also loved over summer. I will leave her vlog where she talks about me choosing her TBR. One of the books I chose for her was The Dictionary of Lost Words by Pip Williams. She loved it, gave it 5 stars. I also remember really enjoying this. I feel like it was a 4 or 4.5, but again, historical fiction and around the creation, obviously, of the dictionary. We've also got Sarah Waters' The Night Watch. The only Sarah Waters book I've really loved so far has been Tipping the Velvet. All of the others have just been kind of middle of the road. This one was fine. Did I DNF this one? Yeah, I think I did DNF this one actually. So that's going back. This, as you can see, is a secondhand copy, so that will probably go back to the same charity shop. One that was really weird was this one, which is Earthlings by Sayaka Murata. Chloe passed this on to me. I've still got the note in here. Yeah, so her note said, "This book is so incredibly weird. I'm passing this over to you so that you have no guilt over DNFing. Read as much or as little as you can stomach. Check content warnings. The cute cover for this does not give you any warning of what's inside." Easily one of the weirdest books I've read this year, and I didn't really enjoy it, I'll be honest. Then we also have Song of the Huntress by Lucy Holland. Again, this was another arc I was sent. And we have Anita and Me by Mira Sayal, which technically goes into my teaching books because this is a book that I bought when I became a teacher. Read it, I'm not going to reread it. And then the last bit of literary fiction, I don't know, I'm not very good with genres. We've got Briefly a Delicious Life by Nell Stevens. I did enjoy this, won't be for everybody. It's sort of a ghost story. It's all a little bit weird. Speaking of weird, and also another book that Chloe sent me is Rouge by Mona Awad. I really wanted to enjoy this because I loved Bunny and I really enjoyed it all as well. I didn't even finish this because I got bored. So yeah, that one is going out. Then we've got, let's start at this end of the stack. Then we've got Burnt Coat by Sarah Hall. This was a random charity shop pick a while ago. Very strange, set during the start of the COVID pandemic. I think I gave it like 3 or 4 stars. I did like it. I just didn't love it enough to keep. I've also got my copy of Life of Pi by Jan Martel, which I read, I think, like June, July or August. I don't think it was August, June or July. I was kind of intrigued by it because one of the last mock exams that my then year 11 sat had an extract from this book, and it intrigued me enough to want to pick it up and read it. I'm glad I did, but again, I'm not going to go back to it. Then we've got Disorientation by Elaine Chow. Sorry, I definitely butchered that. Again, I did DNF this one. This is kind of Sally Rooney vibes, and I just couldn't get on board with it. It's just not my style. But if you like Sally Rooney, you may well like this kind of like millennial fiction. We also have Sea Change by Gina Chung going out. This again was another arc. This was another weird one. And it's about a woman's friendship with an octopus. Yeah, a just giant Pacific octopus. It had quite a lot to say about loneliness, and again felt like millennial fiction, and it's got a very cool cover, although this is the arc cover. I'm also sending out You Be Mother by Meg Mason. This one wasn't what I was expecting it to be. I thought it was going to be a little bit more kind of dystopian, and it's not. It's very much about a fairly young woman who has a baby. She's in Australia. And she's really lonely, basically. And it did have a lot to say about motherhood and loneliness, but again, it's not going to be one I come back to. How I Won a Nobel Prize by Julius Tarantanto. I'll be honest, I didn't enjoy this book. I found it to be quite sexist, and I wasn't sure what the point was, but that was sent to me by the publishers. Then Bitter by Akwaeke Emeze. I really enjoyed this. This I'm going to put into the school library, I think. I need to just check language. But I really enjoyed this. This is the follow-up to Pet, which I also really loved. And my first and so far only Kristen Hanna book, The Nightingale. I really enjoyed this. This took a while to kind of get going for me, but you're following sisters in World War II in France. And by the end, I was absolutely sobbing my eyes out. So there was that one. Okay, we're about halfway, so I'm going to have a quick drink. This is a lot of books. I need to unhaul more regularly, is the moral, is what we're learning here. The problem is, oh no, another book stack's going to fall. The problem is, I'm really good at unhauling books as I go. And like at the end of each month, I put books to one side and I'm like, yeah, those are going out. They're not going back on my shelf. That's the easy bit. Then you have to film this video, which is not my favourite thing to film, I'll be honest, because it takes ages because I always leave it too long. And then I have to arrange to get the books out of my house. So I'm really good at the first bit, the second 2 steps, not so much. Okay, let's do, so we've got thrillers, romance, middle grade, young adult. Let's do middle grade first. There's not many of these. These will all go into the school library because I feel like the kids will, well, a couple of them I know the kids will love, and then others I feel like will be popular books. So we have Rumiasa by Radia Havisa. I've already put one copy of this into my school library, thought I wanted to keep a copy for my shelves, and then realised I'm actually not going back to it, so other people should enjoy it. And these are 3 fairy tales retold. Obviously, as you can see with that one, we've got, who's the one with the long hair? My brain today is not in the audio, is not clicked in. Rapunzel, but instead she's wearing hijab and all of that kind of stuff. So yeah, they're really, really good retellings. Then we've got Like a Charm and Like a Curse, both by L. McNichol. This first one I gave 5 stars. I loved it. I loved the dyspraxia representation. I'm dyspraxic. I'd never seen that before in a book. That made me cry. I loved the found family and the witchcraft and the adventure. Then I read the second one and it was just okay. I gave it 3 stars. It did kind of drag, but I know that these books will be super popular in the library and I love the representation that they have in them. We've also got Pigeon English by Stephen Kelman, which technically goes into my teaching pile because this is a book that I bought when I became a teacher. And finally, First Term at Mallory Towers by Enid Blyton. This was an accidental wrong purchase that I then couldn't be bothered to send back, to be honest. I meant to buy the second bind up of the second 3 books, and for some reason, somehow, this arrived on my doorstep. So yeah, that can just go into the school library. Okay, let's do YA because that follows on nicely from middle grade. And again, these will go into my school library. Oh, I'm just making space over this side. So we have Far From the Tree by Robin Benway. Loved it, loved it, loved it. When Harry Was Here by Dunstan Thal. I Wish You All the Best by Mason Deaver. This has got really nice non-binary rep, which we need way more of in the school library. Hiding Him by Adam Hatton. This is kind of Heartstopper in full novel form. The Ballad of Songbird and Snakes by Suzanne Collins. I didn't love this. I do have the hardback copy upstairs as part of the Waterstones set, so I definitely don't need this on my shelf. All of the Above by Juno Dawson. Midnight at Everwood by M.A. Kuznia, and it's got beautiful sprayed edges. And the Heartstopper Yearbook by Alice Oseman. Our kids at school love the Heartstopper series, and this is just a really fun little kind of, you know, yearbooky thing. I've read it, enjoyed it. I'm not going to read it again, so they may as well enjoy it. Which leaves us with 2 more stacks. Oh no, 3 more stacks. There was a stack behind the stack. Okay, let's do this stack first because there's only 3 of them. This was my like fantasy stack. There's only 3. So this Dark Descent by Kaylin Jofferson, which as you can see I was sent by the publishers. Let's move that over here. I feel like this is a really messy video. I do apologise. Payback's a Witch by Lana Harper. I bought this as a blind date with a book a while ago when I was in Bath. Really fun. Did enjoy this, just not enough to keep it. And another one that I really enjoyed the cozy vibes of is The Secret Society of Irregular Witches by Sangu Mandana. Like, very cozy, very cute. It kind of gives kind of the vibes of, oh my gosh, what was that really famous book? Is it going to reference it somewhere here? Probably not. Oh my gosh, I can't remember. It's really cozy, it's really cute, and I enjoyed it. Let's just leave it at that, because clearly my brain is not clicking into place today. Right, let's do romance, then we've got thrillers, then we're done. Thrillers and mysteries, I think some of those books aren't really thrillers, but we'll get there in a second, sorry. So, first of all, Falling Hard for the Royal Guard by Megan Clawson. Very cute. Also, if you want a romance without spice, this would be a good recommendation. There's no spice in this. It's all just very kind of cute. 30 Things I Love About Myself, Radhika Sangi. I read this in August. It's not really a romance, but I didn't know where else to put it. This is kind of romance and contemporary. I didn't love it. I found the character quite annoying, but I really like the concept. We've also got The Intimacy Experiment by Rosie Dannon. I loved The Roommate. I gave that 5 stars. Absolutely loved it. This is the follow-up, or like the companion, and I DNF'd it. I really didn't like it. Got quite bored. Then I ended up with 2 copies of The Pairing by Casey McQuiston because of a mistake with the publishers. Really, really enjoyed this. I think I gave it 5 stars. Definitely recommend it. I just don't need to keep the arcs on my shelf. I'm also getting rid of Bridget Jones's Diary and Other Writing by Helen Fielding. This is the 25th anniversary edition. I do love the edition. I just don't feel like I'm going to go back to that story again. Also from Rosie Dannon, Do Your Worst. I read this in August. It was fun. You've got a curse breaker and an archaeologist. It's enemies to lovers. It's set in a Scottish castle. It was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it a lot more than the Intimacy Experiment, which was good. We've also got The Little Coffee Shop of Kabul by Deborah Rodriguez. Again, I read that in August. I'll link my August vlogs. Didn't love it. Was a little bit confused by it in places. Wasn't quite what I was hoping for. I'm also unhauling Practice Makes Perfect by Sarah Adams. Chloe got me this for Christmas. I've recently just got When in Rome, which is the first book in the series. This is book 2, companion series. It is very cute, set in a flower shop, as you can see, and it was a good time. And then also Sorry Bro by Talene Voskuni, which I was sent by the publishers. This is sapphic, very cute, and has some really interesting things to say about being queer in cultures where queerness is not necessarily accepted. So yeah, I really like this one. I think I gave it like 3.5 stars, something like that. And then our final stack, we are nearly there. Thrillers-ish. Thrillers and mysteries. So Skin Deep by Liz Nugent. Didn't love it. Was a little bit disappointed by it. Our Little Cruelties, also by Liz Nugent. Also a little bit disappointed by it. Didn't love it. The Measure by Nikki Ehrlich. Loved this. Really interesting. Really thought-provoking. If you like things like John Marr's The One, like that kind of thing where you've got sort of dystopian, sort of thriller, social commentary, all of that stuff, I would recommend this. It was really thought-provoking. Silent Night by Nell Patterson. I do like this series because you've got deaf representation, which is always really interesting in a thriller setting, or any setting, but particularly interesting in a thriller setting. However, I don't love Paige, who is the main character. I would read more, but I'm not a huge fan of Paige. But there we go. One of my most disappointing books from August was Library of the Dead by Glenn Cooper. Really didn't enjoy this. Honestly, wouldn't recommend it. This will go straight back to the same charity shop. Another arc I was sent was The Antique Hunter's Guide to Murder by C.L. Miller. It's on the spine there. This was okay. I didn't enjoy it as much as I was hoping to. One that I really did enjoy was One Wrong Turn by C.M. Ewan. They write such unhinged thrillers. These are the kind of like, where they give you a situation, it's like, what would you do in this situation? And in this one, would you stop and help or keep driving? Keep driving. Keep driving. But they write such unhinged thrillers. They're always fun. They are quick and easy reads, and yeah, I really enjoyed that one. That was no exception. That one came out, when did you come out? Don't know, recent. I feel like it was over the summer, but yeah, I would recommend CM Ewan for just like I said, unhinged thrillers. Then I was sent this really fun arc in this slipcase for Every Time I Go on Vacation Someone Dies by Catherine Mack. Unfortunately, I really didn't like it. I didn't like the protagonist, so it was a bit of a disappointment, but this was a fun arc to have received. Also getting rid of The Alibi Girl by CJ Scoos. I reread this recently and it was okay, but I'm not going to read it again, so out it goes. And the final book in this unhaul is The Christmas Appeal by Janice Hallett, which was just okay. I think my time with Janice Hallett might be coming to an end. That was 98 books in 28 minutes. I'm going to need a lie down. So those are the books that are leaving my collection. Like I said, they are going to friends and family, my school library, a couple of work colleagues, and then anything that's left I will take to my local charity shop. I hope you found that interesting. I really love watching people's unhauls. I love seeing how people manage their collections. For me, this is a really important part of managing my collection because, like I said, I just don't have the space or the urge to keep every book that I read. I'm just not that kind of person. If I'm not going to reread it, it's going out. Obviously, everybody does it differently, and that's all good. But yeah, this is how I manage my book collection. This is the other end of it. You guys often see books coming in, so I think it's good to show you books leaving as well. Okay, if you made it to this point in the video, random book that I picked up, leave me a train emoji, just because that'll be a nice random one in the comments. So yeah, leave me a train emoji just to let me know you got to the end of the video. Please subscribe if you'd like more of this chaos, and I will see you in the next one. Thanks everyone. Bye.